What's up? I'm Vin, and today I want to go through the ASVAB Arithmetic Reasoning Practice Test from 2020. So let's start with this question here. We have Lisa went to the grocery store. She bought hot dogs for $3.54, so I'm just going to start writing stuff down. A pack of buns for $1.79. She got a container of mustard for $2.10 and a jar of relish for $2.16. And then finally charcoal for $5.15. What was the total bill? All right, now this is a no calculator test because obviously if we just punch this all in, it would be easy. So for something like this, you could group together numbers that make 10. 4 plus 6 is 10. And then you got 10 plus 9 is 19. 19 plus 5 is 24. So we write our 4. We carry the 2 to the next column. And we got 2 plus 5 is 7. Plus another 7 is 14. Plus 1 is 15. Then we have 16, 17. So we write our 7 and we carry a 1. And now we've got 1 plus 3 is 4, plus another one is 5. And we got 5 plus 5 is 10. And then we have 10 plus 2 is 14. So tallying all this up, we carry the decimal down. 1474 is the total bill. Now for the next question here, we have Kim bought a blouse. So it's the same idea, except this time we're going to have to do a little subtraction. So we have a blouse, we have a skirt for $38.19. We have a purse for $35.14. And we're told that she hands the clerk a $100 bill. So first we're going to add up the total. And we'll just assume that the tax has already been included. Or maybe it's a state that doesn't have tax on clothes. And we have 6 plus 4 again. That's a group that makes 10. So we have 10 plus 9 is 19. We carry the 1. And we have 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. Bring the decimal down, and now you got 7 plus 8 is 15, and 15 plus 5 is 20. So we have a 0, we carry the 2. And now we've got 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 1 is 7, 7 plus 2 is 9. So this is the total. But what we want to find is what is the change if Kim pays with a $100 bill. So now we have $100, and we have to subtract the cost of all these items. And this is long subtraction, but we got to borrow. A nice little trick, though. Notice for something like this, you want to do 0 minus 9, but you can't because 0 is less than 9. And it goes all the way to the end here, so we'd have to borrow. But a nice little borrowing trick is you could just cross out 100 and make it 99. And now you could carry this 1 over here. And notice now you're doing 100 minus 49. Now, if you could do some of this stuff in your head, then great. Like you might be able to go right from this bill and say, oh, the change is going to be $9.51, but I'll just show the technique anyway. So then from here, what we want to do is, since we still can't do 0 minus 9, we could cross this 10 out and make this a 9, and we put the 1 over here, and now we have 10 minus 9 is 1, 9 minus 4 is 5, and now the rest of this, we have 99 minus 90, so we're doing 9 minus 0 is 9, and 9 minus 9 is 0, so the change is $9.51. So for the next question, we're dealing with percent. So we're told that Cassidy answers 38 questions correctly on a test with 45 items. So the whole idea of percents is that you're looking at the part divided by the whole, and that's going to tell you the percent. So now we have to do this without a calculator. So you could approximate this, but probably the best way to go through with this here is just do the long division. So we're doing 45 going into 38. But I'm going to put a decimal here with a few extra zeros because we are going to have to borrow. Now, because 45 is greater than 38, that means that 45 is going to go into 38 0 times. So that's when now we look at 380. And we say, all right, well, how close can I get to 380 if I'm counting by 45s? Now, a little mental math that I'm doing here is I know that 45 times 10 is 450. So I know 10 is too much. If I tried 9, let's say on the side I did 45 times 9. Well, this, I could just do 9 times 5 is 45. I carry the 4. And then if I do 9 times 4 is 36. 36 plus 4 is 40. So you see 405 is still too much. So then we could say, all right, well, what if I do 45 times 8? So if I do 45 times 8, you'll see this is going to get us where we need to. 8 times 5 is 40. So we carry a 4, and then we have 8 times 4 is 32, and 32 plus 4 is 36. So 8 is going to be our value here. So we write our decimal in line with this decimal. We have an 8, and we do 8 times 45 is 360. And now just pretend this decimal isn't here. We subtract, and we have a leftover of 20. But now we could bring down the next 0. And for some of these, you might be able to do more of them in your head. So 45 going into 200, I know that it goes to 200 4 times. So if you want to be sure of that, 45 times 2 is 90, and 90 times 2 is 180. So that's how I know that 45 times 4 is going to get me as close as I could get. So if I do this out here, 20, we carry the 2. 16, when we do 4 times 4 plus the 2, gives me 180. So that tells me that the next number I'm writing is a 4, and 4 times 45 is 180. But you'll notice a pattern here. When I subtract, I get 20. I carry this down. I'm just going to get repeating values of 200. So that means I'm just going to continuously get a bunch of 4s now, and that's going to be the rest here. So now just think about it. Well, the answer might be obvious at this point. If I just have 0.8444 and this continues, then it's definitely going to be choice C. But to convert this to a percent, you just multiply by 100. So if we do times 100, this tells us that we have 84.4%. But they said to the nearest percent, so we round down. Now for the next question here, we want to find the average score of Susan's test scores in social studies. So the whole technique for finding averages is you add up all the scores and then you divide by the number of scores. So notice there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 test scores. So ultimately we're going to be dividing the total score, which is the sum of all the scores, by 5, since there were 5 tests. So now we start adding. We've got 81 plus 76 plus 91. We got 73, and we've got 79. So we add all this stuff up. See, we have a group of 10 here. 9 plus 1 is 10. And then after that, we have 10. We have 13. 13 plus 6 is 19, and 19 plus 1 is 20. So I carry the 2. 2 plus 8 makes a group of 10. So then I have 17. 17 plus 9 is 26. And then we have 26 plus 7 is going to give you 33, plus another 7 is going to give you 40. So the total is 400. And when you do 400 divided by 5, little mental math trick here is I say 5 goes into 40 8 times evenly, and then 5 goes into 0 0 times. Okay. Otherwise, if you have to, remember this is no calculator, you could say 5 goes into 40 8 times, you multiply, you subtract, you bring down the other 0, 5 goes into 0 0 times. And you could even check 80 times 5 is 400. But our solution is going to be choice A. Okay, so we have a box of chocolates that has 45 pieces total. 9 pieces have nuts in them. What percentage are without nuts? Okay, so what we're looking at here is if we have 9 pieces that have nuts in them, and what percentage are without nuts. This is just testing your attention to detail, because a little trap here is if you just say, all right, 9 pieces out of the 45 total, but this is the 9 that have nuts and there are 45 total. So the percentage of chocolates that have nuts in them, if we reduce this, divide the top and bottom by 9, and if we divide 9 by 9, we get 1. Divide 45 by 9, and you get 5. So that's 1 out of every 5. But if you want to know what percent this is, you need the denominator to say 100. So if I want to convert this to a fraction that has a denominator of 100, the mystery number to multiply by is 20. And that tells me that 20% of the chocolates have nuts in them, but they want to know what percent are without. So choice D is going to be the answer, because the missing percent, 20% have nuts, and the remaining percent completing the 100. Okay, so these are the ones that are without nuts. All right, so next up, question 6. We have 6 out of 48 members of a club are females. What is the ratio of females to all club members? Okay, so here they want us to compare females to total club members. But they told us right away that there are 6 out of 48 members are females. So there are 6 females for all 48 club members. But then the whole trick here is you just have to reduce this. So you're going to divide the top and the bottom by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. So there is 1 female for every 48 divided by 6 is 8, for every 8 club members. All right, and that is going to correspond to choice D. So for question 7, we have a teacher assigns 192 pages of reading. Vanessa starts reading on Monday, and she reads 48 pages per day. And we want to know on what day will she be done reading. So she starts on a Monday, so I'll just write out a few days of the week in a row. And we'll stop at Saturday because Sunday is not included in the answer choices. And we know that she has 192 pages to read total, but she reads 48 pages each day. So if we divide the total by the number of pages she reads each day, that'll tell us how many days it's going to take her to finish the reading. So a little mental math trick here is I know it's going to be a whole number because there's we're counting by ones to get to each day. So I think 48 goes into 192 how many times? But I imagine 8 times blank is ending in a 2. So I know it's going to be 8 times 4 because 8 times 4 gives us 32. So this is going to tell me that it's most likely going to be 4. But if I want to check 48 times 4, 4 times 8 is 32. We'll carry the 3. 4 times 4 is 16 plus 3 is 19. So you can see why it's going to take 4 days. So just think about it. She starts reading on Monday. That's very important because she starts on Monday. That means she reads 48 pages. If you do 48 plus 48, that's going to give you 96. So we could just add that up real quick. So you have 16, carry the 1. That gives us 96. If we add another 48, this is going to give us 4, carry the 1, 144. So by Wednesday, she will have read 144 pages. And now if we go one more time, see, it's going to take 4 days. So we know it's going to be Thursday. But if we do 144 plus 48 pages she's reading per day, see, we have 12, carry the 1, 4 plus 4 plus 1 is 9. And we have the 192 pages. She'll be done by Thursday. So it's going to be choice B. For the next question, we have Sam is saving coins in a jar so he could purchase something. And he has 94 nickels, 44 quarters, and 112 dimes. So if he reaches into the jar, he picks one coin at random. What is the probability that he will pick a dime? So the idea with this kind of probability is we want to know what is the part over the whole. So how many different ways can he pick out a dime? Well, there's 112 dimes in total. So what we're going to write in the numerator is the 112 dimes, but the whole is how many coins are there in total. So remember, he has 94 nickels, he has 44 quarters, and he has 112 dimes. So we're going to add up these three numbers to see how many total coins that Samuel has. So let's add it up now. We have 4 plus 4 plus 2 is 10. So we have a 0. We carry the 1. 1 plus 9 is 10. Plus 4 is 14. Plus 1 is 15. We carry a 1. So he has 250 coins in total. So we look at this and we look to the answer key and we don't see our answer. But the trick is we have to reduce it. These are both even numbers. So we could divide them both by 2. And now 112 divided by 2 is 56. And 250 divided by 2 is 125. So that tells us the answer to question 8 is going to be choice C. So for question 9, we have Renee deposits $4,000 into a savings account. And that account earns 4% simple interest per year. So we want to know how much interest she's going to earn after 3 years. Now, the big idea with simple interest is that it's based off the initial amount that you're investing. And that amount of interest does not change year to year. It's going to be the same amount for all 3 years. So the next thing we have to know how to do is how do we find 4% of 4,000? So there's 3 different ways we could write 4%. We could write it like this with the percent symbol. We could say 4 over 100 because percent means out of 100. Or we can convert this to a decimal. And when we want to convert this to a decimal in our head, what you could think of is just think of 4 with a few zeros in front. And when you divide by 100, there's 2 zeros, so you're moving the decimal 2 spaces to the left. And that would give you 0.04. But the easiest one we could use here with no calculator is the fraction. So we can multiply this by 4 over 100. And the reason why this makes it easier is that there's a nice little trick when you divide 4,000 by 100. There's 2 zeros they have in common, so we could just cross off 2 zeros like this. So then we have 4 divided by 1, which is 4, and we're left with 40 here. So we have $40 times 4, and 4 times 4 is 16, but there's just going to be a trailing 0. So that tells us that Renee is paying $160 of interest per year. So if we want to know how much interest she's going to earn, this is how much interest she's earning. So this is a good thing. The savings account is paying her a pretty high percentage too. So then we're going to take the 160, and for 3 years, we're going to multiply by 3. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 6 is 18. Carry the 1. And then 3 times 1 plus 1 is 4. So Renee is going to make $480 for, interest. So that's how we go through this one. For the next question, we have Leah flies 5,200 miles in 11 hours. What is the average speed of her airplane? So average speed, which I'll write as S, is equal to the distance traveled divided by the time traveled. So if we look here, they kind of telegraph it for us that the average speed is Leia is traveling 5,200 miles, if we write the units with it, in 11 hours. So you see it's creating the unit miles per hour, which matches all the answers. So then all we have to do is divide 5,200 by 11, which we'll do on the side, and we'll do this without a calculator. So what we have is 11 could go into 52 4 times, because 11 times 5 would bring you to 55, which is too far. So 4 times 11 is 44, and when you subtract those two, 52 minus 44, you're going to have 8 left over. So we bring down that first 0, and now we have 11 could get as close to 80 if we multiply by 7, because we have 7 times 11 is 77. And then we subtract, we have a remainder of 3, and we bring down the last 0. So now, how close can 11 get to 30? Well, if we multiply by 2, then that's going to bring us to 22. Times 3 would bring you a little bit too far. It would bring you to 33. So we have 22, we subtract, and now we have an 8 here. And since we're out of stuff, we could put a decimal with a few extra zeros, and then just put a decimal up here, and see what happens if we were to carry down the next decimal. Well, 11 could get as close to 80 if we multiply by 7. So you could start to see we have enough significant digits. It has to be choice A. We have 472.7. So for this next question here, we have the Kent High School Club has 250 members. In 90 days, it hopes to have a membership of 376 by initiating a web-based membership campaign. On average, how many new members does it need to sign up each day to reach that goal? All right, so if we think about right now, it has 250 members. And they want to, in 90 days, have a total of 376 members. So that means they need to gain, if we subtract, this is how many members there are now, and this is how many members they want. If we subtract these, we have 6 minus 0 is 6, 7 minus 5 is 2, 3 minus 2 is 1. This is how many members they need to recruit. So they have 90 days to do this. So that means they need to recruit 126 people in 90 days. So then what we're going to do here is we're going to do division all over again. We have 90 going into 126. 90 goes into 126 one time. And if you subtract 90, you have 6 minus 0 is 6. 12 minus 9 is 3. So we put a decimal here, we put a 0. We carry this down, and now 90 goes into 360 evenly. Just think 9 goes into 36 4 times. So 90 goes into 360 4 times. And when we subtract 360, we have 0 left. It goes in nice and even. Choice B is going to be 1.4. So for question 12, we have Max has a rectangular garden. So let's draw a rectangle here, and it's 3 feet by 7 feet. And they're telling us that it needs 2 ounces of fertilizer per square foot for the garden to flourish. How many ounces must he use? All right, so we need 2 ounces per square foot. And a square foot we write as feet with the little exponent 2 here. All right, it's like feet to the second power. So what we need to find here is we have to find the area of this rectangular garden. And just know the area of a rectangle, which I'll indicate with the little rectangle in that little subscript space here, is equal to the length times the width. So if we multiply here, let's say the length is 3 feet and the width is 7 feet. So that tells us the area of the rectangle is 21 square feet. So what they're telling us here is that Max needs 2 ounces of fertilizer for every square foot. So then how many ounces must Max use? We're going to take the 21 square feet. And remember, Max needs 2 ounces for every square foot. So we're going to multiply those two together, because once again, for every square foot, Max needs 2 ounces of fertilizer. And you can see the units cancel here. We have feet squared up top, and we have feet squared in this denominator canceling out, and we have 21 times 2 is 42. So Max needs 42 ounces. For question 13, we have a local electronics store. They have a 20% off sale on all products, and we have Marla taking 2 CDs at a price of $16.99. And we want to know, what is the price of the 2 CDs after the 20% discount? So first we have to do 2 times $16.99 to get the total. And there's a little shortcut you could do, but then I'll show you the long way to find it. So the price of the CD is $16.99, which is really close to 17. If we multiply that by 2, that's 34. But $16.99 is 1 cent away from 17. So if I multiply by 2, that's 2 cents. So the total is going to be 2 cents less than 34, which would be $33.98. Okay, otherwise what you could do is just take $16.99 and multiply by 2. And when you do this, you have 2 times 9 is 18. We carry a 1. 2 times 9 is 18 plus 1 is 9. Bring down the decimal. And it was 19, so we have to carry another 1. And 2 times 6 is 12 plus 1 is 13. Carry the 1. And we have 2 times 1 plus 1 is 3. So see, same total. But now we need to take 20% off of this. Now there's a nice little shortcut to taking 20% off. If you take 20% off, the way I like to think of this is that 80% of the price is still on. And the reason why I like this method more is because I just have to multiply this by 80% and we'll get our answer. So if 80% is still on, 80% is the same thing, I'm not going to write times, we're going to say equals, is the same thing as 80 over 100. And if we divide this, we could reduce by getting rid of these zeros, and 8/10 is the same thing as 0.8. So now from here, that just tells me I need to multiply 33.98 by 0.8, because once again, 80% of the price is on. So now we multiply, and we got 8 times 8 is 64. We carry a 6. 8 times 9 is 72, plus 6 is going to give you 78. And now we have 8 times 3 is 24. 24 plus 7 is 31. And then we have 8 times 3 is 24. 24 plus 3 is 27. So now we look here, and this answer choice is jumping out. But how do we know it's this? Well, if we're taking 80% of the price, 80% is almost all of this. So it makes sense then that it's going to be 27 and then the rest. All right, otherwise, technically 27,184 is the product of 33.98 times 8. So in a sense, we ignored these 2 decimal places and we ignored this 1 decimal place. So we have to pay back 3 decimal places. So we start here and we move it 1, 2, 3 to the left, which tells us the total is this. Okay, but we're rounding to a dollar amount, so we're going to get rid of this 4 at the end. We're rounding down to 27.18. So now for the next question here, we have a department store. They're running a sale. They have shoes on sale. It's September. The price of the shoes is $67.50. And now October, they increased the price to $87.75. So we want to know, what is the percent increase of the price in October? So for a question like this, especially if you're doing this without a calculator, this is going to be a little bit annoying to do without a calculator. And there's a few ways you could go through with it. So one way, which is going to be tricky without a calculator, is you could say, all right, here's the price. And let's say, I don't know what the percent is, but there's an X percent increase in price, and it brings you here. Okay, so once we get here, then we just divide by 67.50 on both sides. All right, and if we do this, this will tell us what the amount is. Okay, so we could go through with this way. This might be a little bit annoying to do by hand, but it's your choice, whatever you think is easier. What a second method we could use that might be easier than this, no calculator, is we look at, well, how many dollars was added back onto the shoe price? So if you think about this, the new price is $87.75 once the sale ends. So if we subtract, that tells us how much is added back on. 5 minus 0, we have 7 minus 5 is 2. 7 minus 7 is 0. 8 minus 6 is 2. So this tells us that $20.25 was added back on. But that's $20.25 out of $67.50. All right, so what I would wind up doing here is I would just start reducing this. So I think of this as a 2025 over 6750. So I could just move both decimals to the right 2 spaces. But then what I would wind up doing here is dividing the top and bottom by 25. You know a number is divisible by 25 if it ends in 25, 50, 75, or 0, 0. So we go through with this here. And just know 25, if I do this on the side here, we'll just make a little space. We have 2025 divided by 25. So 25 goes into 200. It goes in 8 times. And if I do 8 times 25, just think 8 quarters is $2. That gives you this. With the leftover of 2, bring this down. And then 25 goes into 25 1 time. So that's going to be 81. And if I do 6750 divided by 25, yeah, see, this is annoying to do by hand. I'm doing 25 goes into 67 twice. It gets as close as 50. So you have 17 left. This 5 comes down. And $1.75 is equivalent to 7 quarters. So I put a 7 here, and I have minus 175 exactly. Bring down that last 0, and then 25 goes into 0 times. So this is equal to 270. And when I see this, these are all divisible by 9. But the biggest number that goes into both of these is actually going to be 27. All right, but let's pretend I didn't know that. If we divide the top and bottom by 9, 81 over 9 is 9, and 27 divided by 9 is 3. So with an extra 0, it would give you 30. And now I take 9 over 30, divide the top and bottom by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 30 divided by 3 is 10. So that tells me that the percent here, so the part, there was a $20.25 increase in price compared to the total $67.50 price. So that part over whole equals 3/10. And as a percent, this is equal to 30%, okay? Because I could just multiply everything by 10, and I get 30 over 100, which is the same thing as 30%. So there was a 30% increase in price. This question is so much easier if you have a calculator, but this is how I do this, no calculator. So for the next question here, we have 2 numbers add together to make 300. One number is twice the size of the other number. What are the 2 numbers? So you could just do trial and error here. The sum of 2 numbers is 300. So these 2 numbers don't make 300. These don't make 300. These don't make 300. Because see, like, this is 75, 150, 225. But 100 plus 200 is definitely 300. And 100 and 200, 200 is definitely twice the size of 100. All right, if you had to, you could just say the first number is x. The second number is twice as big. And then x plus 2x is 300. So x plus 2x is 3x. And then divide by 3, which tells you x is equal to 100. So that means the first number is 100, second number 200. But trial and error here, just plug in. That's the easiest way to go through with this. So now we have Hugo is making a picture frame for a photo of his family. The photo itself is 8 inches by 10 inches. If the wood for the frame costs 50 cents an inch. All right, so here we go. So it's going to be 50 cents per inch. Then how much will the wood for the frame cost? Okay, so the unit that we're dealing with here is 50 cents per inch. So this time we don't want area. The picture frame, the wood that's going to surround it is going around the perimeter. So we want to find the perimeter of this rectangular photo. Well, one of the properties of this is a rectangle is the sides opposite each other are equal. And just know the perimeter is just equal to the sum of the sides. But there's another nice little formula. The perimeter of a rectangle is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So you could do that. You could just say, all right, 2 times, let's say, 8 inches plus 2 times 10 inches. And that tells you the perimeter of the rectangle. We have 16 inches. We're doing 2 times 8 plus 20 inches. And this is going to give you 36 inches. So that's the perimeter. So they're telling us the unit here, it's 50 cents per inch. So that means if we multiply this out, we have 36 times 50 cents per inch. And I'm sorry, this is 36 inches. So we're multiplying 36 inches by 50 cents per inch. And now the inches over inches is going to cancel. And if you do 36 times 50, well, just know 36 times 5 is 180. So I could do 180 with an extra 0 is 1800. So that's 1800 cents. But 1800 cents is equal to $18 if you divide by 100, right? Remember, every 100 cents is $1. So 1800 cents is $18. If you had to, of course, you could always do 36 times 50 on the side. So we have 0, 0. When we multiply by 0, 5 times 6 is 30, carry the 3. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 3 is 18. You still get 1800. Okay, but remember, it's 1800 cents, which is going to give you $18, choice D. So question 18, we have Sue spent 1/3 of her life in Kansas. Sue is 39. How many years did she spend in Kansas? Okay, so if Sue spent 1/3 of her life in Kansas, so we have 1/3 of her life, and right now Sue is 39 years old. We're doing 39 times 1/3. So 1/3 of 39, if we simplify this, is just going to be equal to 13. So this is going to be choice C. All right. If you want to visualize it with pictures here, so we draw this like kind of peace sign here. So if we fill these all with 13s, you can see this part of her life is Kansas, 1/3. But if you tally up all of it, it's going to bring you back to her current age, 39. So next for question 19, we have Brian shoots hoops with Dave, who is 2 years younger than Brian. If Brian is 17, how old is Dave? All right, these questions can be very annoying. So what I like to do is, let's see, we have Brian and we have Dave, just two people. So I like to kind of define this so that it stays separate. So Brian shoots hoops with Dave, who is 2 years younger than Brian. So if Brian is X and Dave is 2 years younger than Brian, so then Dave would be X minus 2. So now what we have here is that Brian is 17 years old. So if Brian is 17 years old, X is equal to 17, then Dave is equal to 17 minus 2. So Dave has to be 15 years old. All right, these questions are honestly like sometimes like memory based. So if you try to do all this in your head, it could be tricky. But I mean, it's just saying here. So Brian is 17. Dave is 2 years younger than Brian. So Dave has to be 15. All right, so choice A. So we have Al has 3 times as much money as Bill. All right, so here we go again with defining variables. We have Al, Bill, and Charlie. So Al has 3 times as much money as Bill. So whatever Bill's money is, let's call it X. Al has 3 times as much as that. So Al is going to be 3X. And Bill has 2 times as much money as Charlie. So that means Charlie has 1/2 as much money as Bill. So this has 2 different ways we could say this. Bill has twice as much money as Charlie, means that Charlie has half the amount of money as Bill. So what we know is that Charlie has $5.89. We want to know how much money does Al have. So if we called Charlie 1/2 X and he has $5.89, we can multiply both sides by 2. And that's going to tell us the value of X, okay? So we're multiplying both sides by 2. 2 times a half cancels. So we have X is equal to, and this you could do in your head or you could do this on the side, but 589 times 2. 2 times 9 is 18, carry the 1. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17, carry the 1. And then 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. So that's 1178 is the value of X. But we have to be careful. If we say 1178 is the answer, that's a very dangerous trap. They want us to answer how much money does Al have. And Al was 3 times X. So Al has 3 times the 1178. So now we just have one more thing to do. We're doing 1178 times 3. 3 times 8 is 24. Carry the 2. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2 is 23. And we carry the 2. We drop the decimal down. And we have 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. And then 3 times 1 is 3. So Al has 3534. All right, so this one is now introducing a little bit of algebra here. So this is like a pretty nice way to get to the solution. So what we have next, a car owned by Marissa gets an average of 16 miles per gallon. So Marissa is getting 16 miles per gallon. That's on the highway. If she recently took a trip of 1,344 miles, how many gallons of gas did she use? So what we have to be careful with here, just think about this very, very carefully. So Marissa drove 1,344 miles in total. But what we know is that her car gets 16 miles for every gallon. So if we divide the 1,344 miles of the trip by 16 miles per gallon, this is going to tell us what we need to know here. Now, just know there's a little rule with fractions. Anytime you divide fractions, the technique we call keep, change, flip. You keep the fraction on top. You change the operation to multiplication here, this main fraction bar, and then you flip the bottom fraction. So that's kind of the idea we're using here. First thing we'll do on the side is 1344 divided by 16. So if I look at this, I say, all right, 16 goes into 134. My guess is going to be 8 times because 16 times 10 is 160, and 16 less than that is 144. So something's telling me 16 times 8. So let's see. 8, 6 times 8 is 48. Carry the 4. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 4 is 12. Okay, so 128 is as close as we're going to get. So it was 8, and now we're subtracting 128, and that leaves us with the leftover of 6. We bring down the 4, and 16 goes into 64 4 times. So that means we have 1344 divided by 16 is going to give you 84. And just so you could see the concept of why this is telling you how many gallons, is we're doing miles in the numerator. So just imagine we have miles, which I'll just abbreviate like this, divided by, so I'm going to change the operation to multiplication, and now I flip the bottom fraction to gallons over miles. And you can see miles over miles canceling out. So that's why this division definitely works here, because you can see the units canceling and giving you gallons. Okay, but anytime they give you the total trip in distance, you divide by the rate, and that tells you how many gallons. So we have a rectangular swimming pool, and we're given the length, width, and depth. So I'll try to draw this as nice as I can here. So we have this box. So the pool is 6 feet deep. It's 28 feet long going this way, and it's 12 feet wide. Okay, so that's this distance across. And we want to know, what is the volume of the pool? Well, volume is equal to length times width times height when you're dealing with the rectangular prism. So what we have here is we just have to multiply these 3 values together. Now, I'd probably multiply those together first. So I'm doing 12 feet times 6 feet first, because that's easier to do in your head if you know your times table is really fast. This is 72. And then we're multiplying that by 28 feet. So 12 times 6 is 72. So what I'm doing on the side is I'm doing 72, and we'll write this in a spot we have more space. We have 72 times 28. And we have 8 times 2 is 16. Carry the 1. 8 times 7 is going to give you 56. 56 plus 1 is 57. And now we go to the next row. We leave a space. So I'll just put a 0 here. 2 times 2 is 4. And then 2 times 7 is 14. So we add these up. We got 6. 7 plus 4 is 11. Carry the 1. 1 plus 5 plus 4 gives us 10. Carry the 1. And this gives us a 20. So this is going to give us 2016. So the volume here is going to be 2016. And just know we have feet times feet times feet, which is feet to the third power, but we usually just say cubic feet. So that's why the volume of this thing is going to be 2016 cubic feet. Now for the next question, we have Josh is putting a fence around his rectangular garden. So there's the garden. It's a rectangle, and it's 6 feet by 15 feet. And we want to know how much fencing must he purchase. All right, this is kind of like that photo question before with the frame. It's like the same idea. So a rectangle, remember, the opposite sides are the same. So the perimeter is just the sum of all the sides. So if he wants to put a fence around the entire garden, we just have to add up all these sides. So we have 15 feet plus 15 feet plus 6 feet plus 6 feet. Okay, so we have pairs here. We have repeating 15s and repeating 6s. So the perimeter, this is going to be 30 feet when we add these two, plus 12 feet. So the perimeter, 30 plus 12 is 42 feet, which is going to give you choice C. All right, so for the next question here, we have an election. We have Joe received 32% of the votes. Samantha received 14% of the votes. Sally had 42%. and Cal received 12%, and 5,000 votes were cast in total. And you want to know how many votes did Samantha receive? All right, so we have a lot of extra information. The only one we care about right now is Samantha. Samantha got 14% of the votes. So Samantha got 14%, and there were 1,500 votes in total. So remember, 14% could be written three ways. It's 14 out of 100, or I could call this 0.14. This one is going to be the most helpful for this question. I'm taking 14% of the total 5,000. So I'm multiplying by 14 over 100, and why this is more helpful is I could just cross off these two zeros. And now what I have is 50 times 14. So that's what I'm going to do on the side, 50 times 14. And I got 4 times 0 is 0, 4 times 5 is 20. We go to the next row and we put a placeholder here. We have 1 times 0 is 0, and then we have 1 times 5. So that's going to give us a total of 700. So this means Samantha received 700 votes out of the 5,000. So next thing we have here is a circular pool is 300 meters deep and has a radius of 9 meters. And we want to know what is the volume. So if the pool is circular and it has depth, this means it's going to be a cylinder. And I'm assuming we can't use calculators for this question. So what we know is the volume of a cylinder is pi times the radius squared times the height. So what they just told us here is the height is 3.5 meters and the radius is 9 meters. So the volume is going to be equal to pi times the radius squared times the height was 3.5 meters. So we're just plugging in. The only snag here is we have to do this by hand. So I'm going to just multiply this stuff out a little bit more by hand, and then I'll substitute pi with 3.14 since this is only going out one digit. So right now, first thing I could do is we have 9 times 9 is 81. Okay, so I have 81 times 3.5. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 8 is 40. And then I have 3. So I'll put a placeholder here. I have 3 times 1 is 3. And then 3 times 8 is 24. So we add this up. 0 plus 5. 0 plus 3. 4 plus 4. And the 2 carries down. So what we're looking at here is we ignored one decimal place. We technically did 81 times 35. So I just have to pay one decimal place back. All right, but this is way more reasonable because if I did 80 times 3, that's 240. So our answer has to be a little bit bigger than 240. So this makes sense, 283.5. So this tells me my volume is 283.5. The pi we didn't do anything to yet. And we had meters squared times meters to the first, which gives us the cubic meters. So the last thing I want to find here is what is 283.5 times 3.14. So I have 283.5 times 3.14. All right, so we have a little bit of stuff to multiply here. This is definitely a bit of a tedious question. So we have 4 times 5 is 20. We're going to carry the 2. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. Carry the 1. We have 4 times 8 is 32, plus 1, 33. Carry the 3. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11. So now we go to the next row. We put a placeholder. 1 times 5. Oh, here we go. It was the 1. That's nice. So we have 1 times 5. We have 1 times 3, 1 times 8, and 1 times 2. Now we have to have 2 placeholders. So we multiply with a 3. So we have 3 times 3. And I'll just start ignoring these. We can just get rid of those. 3 times 5 is 15. And we carry the 1. 3 times 3 plus 1 is 10. And we carry the 1. 3 times 8 is 24 plus 1 is 25. Carry a 2. And then 3 times 2 is 6 plus 2 is 8. All right, so there's a lot to keep track of. So bring down a 0. 4 plus 5 plus 0 is 9. We have 5 plus 6 is 11. Carry a 1. 1 plus 1 plus 8 is 10. So we got a 0. We carry a 1. And now we have 2 plus 2 is 4 plus 5 is 9. And then we bring down this 8. So when all settles here, it looks like the decimal is going here. Okay, because we ignored these 2 decimal places. So these are 2 decimal places. and this is 1 decimal place. So we have to pay back 3 decimal places. We're going these 3 spaces here. So if you think about it, 890.190 cubic meters rounds to 890.2 cubic meters. So it looks like it's this one. All right. I would hope they would let you use a calculator for that. That just seems very obnoxious to do all of that by hand, but that's how you would do it. So we have the diameter of a planet is 8,000 miles. What is the circumference? Okay, so circumference is equal to pi times the diameter. So if the diameter is 8,000 miles, then the circumference is pi times 8,000. And we'll use 3.14 all over again. So we have 8,000 times 3.14. But honestly, this time, just to save time, I'm going to do 3.14 times 8, and then I'm going to add a whole bunch of zeros. Okay, so you have 8 times 4 is 32, carry the 3. 8 times 1 plus 3 is 11, carry the 1. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 1 is 25. Okay, so what we have here is we're doing 8,000. I just think of this. If I did 8,000 on its own times 3, that would be 24,000. So I know my answer has to be a little bit bigger than 24,000. So that means here that 8,000 times 3.14, it's coming from this. It's going to be 2512 with an extra 0 because remember, it has to be more than 24,000. So it's going to be choice C. Now for question 27, here's his bank account, and he writes a check for this and this. How much is left in the bank account? All right, so this is how much is being deducted. So if I want to total the deductions, he's losing this much money, and he's losing this much money. So he's writing these checks, so they're going away. 0 plus 9 is 9. 9 plus 9 is 18. I'm going to carry a 1. 1 plus 4 plus 0 is 5. Then we got 0 plus 9. 2 plus 8 is 10. Carry the 1. So he's losing this much money. So I'm just going to subtract it all in one shot. So we got 2,095.89. So subtract this. 9 minus 9 is 0. So from here we borrow. We get a 4. Bring the 1 over. 11 minus 8 is 3. And now we borrow here. 4. Make this a 14. 14 minus 5 is 9. Now we borrow here. Make it a 2. Turn this into a 14. 14 minus 9 is 5. And then we have 2 minus 0 is 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. So there's 2259.30 left in the account. So it's going to be choice B. Okay, so we have a club collected $585. 75% of this came from membership dues. How much money came from the dues? Okay, so this is the total collected. So this represents our total. And they're telling us that 75% of this money comes from membership dues. So how much money came from the dues? So we're really just taking 75% of 585. But just know 75% is the same thing as 75 over 100, which is the same thing as 3/4. So there's a few ways that we could go through with this. I want to say here the easiest way to go forward with this is going to be to multiply by 3/4. Okay? I mean, we could divide it by 100 first, then multiply it by 75, but it's going to be an equal amount of work either way, I think. So we have 585 times 3 over 4. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply by 3. So 585, make that a little neater. 585 times 3, we got 15. Carry the 1. 24 plus 1 is 25. Carry a 2. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 2 is 17. Okay, so that's 1755. So we're doing... Just know, yeah, when you multiply fractions, you do the numerator times the numerator, which was 1755, over the denominator times the denominator. So now we just have to divide that by 4, and we're all done. So 4 goes into 17 4 times, getting you as close as 16, with 1 left over. Bring this down. Now we could get up to 3. 3 times 4 is 12, leaving us with an extra 3. Bring down that last 5. 4 goes into 35. That'll get there 8 times. Okay, and I'm going to put a decimal with an extra 0. Because now when I do 4 times 8 is 32. I have a leftover of 3. I bring this down. I could get as close as 7. So I have a 7 here. 7 times 4 is 28. 2 left over. I bring this last one down, and this goes in evenly. 4 goes into 25 times. So I'm looking for 438.75, which is choice B. Now for the next question here, we have Danny buys a computer priced at $750. Programs originally priced at this amount, a printer priced at this amount, and a case of paper priced at this amount. All items are on sale for 20% off. How much will Danny save because of the sale? Okay, so we just have to total all this stuff and then take 20% off to see how much money Danny's actually going to save. All right, so the computer is priced at $750. Programs are priced at $398.75. The printer is originally priced at this, and a case of paper is $24.99. All right, and everything is 20% off. All right, so we got a lot of adding to do. So let's see, 5 plus 8 is 13, plus 9 is 22. 2 plus 0 plus 7 is 9. 9 plus 9 plus 9 is 9 times 3, which is 27. So we got a 7, and we carry a 2. So now we got 2 plus 0 plus 8 is 10. 10 plus 9 is 19. 19 plus 4 is 23. Carry a 2. 2 plus 5 is 7. Plus 9 is 16. Plus 4 is 20. 20 plus 2 is 22. I didn't do a great job of aligning this, so I wasn't able to read through that as fast. All right, here we go. Last row. 2 plus 7 is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12. 12 plus 1 is 13. So the computer bill is $1323.72, but Danny got 20% off. All right, so that means 20% off. Remember, 20% is the same thing as 20 over 100. All right, which is the same thing as 2 over 10. And 2 over 10 reduces to 1/5. So what we could actually do here is just divide all of this by 5, and that'll tell us how much Danny's going to save. So we got 13, 23, whoops, left one out. 13, 23, 72, we're dividing it by 5. So here we go. 5 goes into 13 twice. A little shortcut here is you could write the remainder next to the next number. So 5 goes into 13 twice. 5 times 2 is 10, and we're 3 away. Now I just imagine this is a 32. 5 goes into 32 6 times, and that has a remainder of 2, because 5 times 6 is 30. It's 2 away. So now I say 5 goes into 23 4 times. I'll put a decimal with a leftover of 3. 5 goes into 37 7 times with the remainder of 2, and then 5 goes into 22 4 times. If I keep tacking on zeros, there's an extra 2 here, and 5 goes into 24 times. So it looks like 264.74 when we round everything down. Okay, last question. So we have a ladder is placed against a building. So let's say, draw this a little nicer. Here's our building. And the ladder, it's on the ground, so we'll make the ground green here. And the ladder is leaning against the building, like this. Okay, let's just pretend it's a giant ladder. And they're telling us the ladder makes a 55-degree angle with the ground. So the ground is here in green, the ladder is here. So this is the 55-degree angle. Now, we're going to assume the ground and the building are creating a right angle to each other. Everything was built well. This is not the Leaning Tower of Pisa. So what is the measure, the angle the ladder makes with the building? Okay, so I'm sorry, the measure of the angle the ladder makes with the building. So that's this angle here. Remember, this symbol means right angle or 90 degrees. And just know, it's an important idea. The sum of the 3 angles inside of a triangle makes 180 degrees. So that means the 55-degree angle plus the 90-degree angle plus whatever x is has to equal 180. So just combine these. 55 plus 90 is 145. And this is equal to 180. So now I just have to subtract 145 degrees on both sides. And we'll have x, we'll have our answer. So x equals, and if we just do this on the side, so we can't do 0 minus 5, so we make this a 7, turn this to a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 7 minus 4 is 3. So the missing angle is 35 degrees. So choice A. Okay, well, this is going to conclude this video on the ASVAB test. If you found this video to be helpful, please like and subscribe. It really helps me grow the channel. And if you've got any requests, Just leave the topics you want me to cover in the comment section below. And thanks for watching.